So we thought it might be useful to talk at the beginning about kind of the changing ways, the changing modes of scholarly research. I mean, how has kind of this digital world that we live in made a difference to the everyday work of historians and our students?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the most obvious change, and this is one that even if people don't consider themselves to be involved in the digital world, the most obvious change is simply the accessibility of records. If we think back to when you and I were in grad school, the availability of primary sources involved a lot more direct archival research. It involved us, going to a place depending on the initial, whatever the cataloging was. Might involve some serendipity, but it often involved a fair amount of money. And now there are just a remarkable array of records that are available for Southern historians online. And we can look at the National Archives and their recent publishing of what's called Founders Online, and all these records about the founding fathers and the letters related to that. Many of us in Southern history have used the Documenting the American South collection at UNC Chapel Hill. It's an invaluable resource. The Virginia Foundation for the Humanities and UVA Press has put out this People of the Founding Era. So I think that there are all kinds of digital archival collections that are available that haven't been before, but there are also a number of things that we don't necessarily think of as traditional academic sources that do provide resources that weren't available 5 or 10 years ago. And so something like the Internet Archive, which not only has digitized large and preserved large parts of the internet itself, but also has become a resource for out of copyright film, out of copyright sound, out of copyright documents, and Google Books actually. And Google gets a bad rap sometimes, but they do also give us access to a wide array of resources that we would have been lucky to find 10 or 15 years ago, and now it's a simple search.
Do you think that kind of paradoxically, on the one hand, we've got this great expansion of resources? I mean, I use the Doc South project myself extensively, writing my own work. But do you also think there's the potential for kind of a narrowing effect in that stuff that isn't online? You're not going to have those serendipitous encounters in the archives, because if it's not there, you're just not going to see it.
Right. So I can remember the first SHA that I went to in 1997. Ed Ayers was presenting on the first version of the Valley's Shadow Project, and Drew Faust asked that very question, right? Isn't everyone now going to study these two counties in Pennsylvania and Virginia, and isn't that going to narrow things down? And to some extent, yeah, it does have that effect. But I think one of the things that we're seeing is just a radical explosion in archives and institutions making these things public, and it's not just the institutions. I think that's one of the powerful things about this. The technology has reached the point where individuals can post these things and make them available, where you have crowdsourced transcriptions, like the project the University of Iowa has, doing Civil War diaries and letters, right? And I mean, I have students, undergraduate students in my own classes who, for example, took video lectures of civil rights leader James Farmer and digitized them and made them available for anyone to have access to. We've just reached, I think, a tipping point where, there is a narrowing effect, but if there are things that we're missing, we have the ability to go get them and to put them online, and that the cost is, in time and in money, is so much less than it once was. Do we have everything? Are there still opportunities for serendipitous moments? Yeah, absolutely. We still need to be going to archives, but it has changed things in substantive ways.